Donald Trump, the life story of a business tycoon turned president. Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946, in Queens, New York City, to Fred and Marion Trump. His father was a prominent real estate developer who laid the foundation for Donald's eventual path in business. From a young age, Trump exhibited strong ambition and a competitive spirit. After attending the New York Military Academy, where he rose to a leadership position, Trump pursued higher education at Fordham University and later transferred to the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, graduating in 1968 with a degree in economics. Soon after, he joined his father's real estate business, the Trump Organization, where he began reshaping the brand into one associated with high-profile Manhattan developments and luxury real estate. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Donald Trump made a name for himself as a bold and media-savvy developer, taking on large projects like the Grand Hyatt Hotel, Trump Tower, and casinos in Atlantic City. Despite several high-profile financial struggles and corporate bankruptcies in the 1990s, he managed to reinvent his brand, becoming a prominent figure in pop culture. His role as the host of NBC's reality show The Apprentice in the 2000s turned him into a household name and allowed him to portray himself as a master negotiator and business icon. Trump also expanded into various branding ventures, licensing his name to products and developments worldwide. In June 2015, Trump launched his campaign for President of the United States, running as a Republican with a platform focused on immigration control, trade reform, and America First nationalism. Despite widespread skepticism, he won the Republican nomination and went on to defeat Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton in a shocking upset during the 2016 presidential election. As the 45th president, from January 2017 to January 2021, Trump pursued sweeping policy changes including tax reform, deregulation, conservative judicial appointments, and renegotiation of international trade agreements. His tenure was marked by deep political polarization, controversies, and an unconventional leadership style that constantly challenged traditional political norms. Trump's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic and the 2020 election results were particularly defining. After losing to Joe Biden in the 2020 presidential election, Trump contested the results, leading to national debates over election integrity. His presidency formally ended on January 20, 2021, but his influence remained strong within the Republican Party. In the years following, Trump stayed active in politics, holding rallies, endorsing candidates, and continuing to challenge mainstream narratives. He was impeached twice, once in 2019 and again in 2021, but was acquitted both times. In 2023, he officially launched his campaign for the 2024 presidential election, positioning himself as a political outsider and defender of conservative populism. Trump's post-presidency period has also been shaped by ongoing legal battles, investigations, and indictments on various federal and state charges, which he has consistently dismissed as politically motivated. Despite these controversies, he remained a dominant figure in American politics, drawing strong support from a large base of loyal voters. In 2024, he secured the Republican nomination once again, setting up a rematch with Joe Biden in the November presidential election. By 2025, Donald Trump continued to be one of the most polarizing and influential figures in modern U.S. history, simultaneously admired, criticized, and closely watched by the public, media, and global leaders. Following the 2024 presidential election, Donald Trump's political journey entered another historic chapter. As a candidate with unmatched media presence and deep-rooted support among conservative Americans, Trump positioned himself not just as a politician, but as a cultural movement. His campaign was marked by themes of restoring American strength, opposing what he called the deep state, and promoting strong borders, economic nationalism, and law and order. He continued to speak at packed rallies across the country, using his platform to influence not only national policy debates but also the future of the Republican Party itself. Behind the scenes, Trump's legal challenges multiplied. Federal and state cases stemming from his business dealings, alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election, and the handling of classified documents tested the boundaries of the American legal and political systems. Despite these unprecedented issues, Trump used them to fuel his narrative of political persecution, which resonated strongly with his base. The courtrooms, cable news segments, and social media platforms became battlegrounds where Trump continued to dominate public conversation. Meanwhile, the Trump Organization, led increasingly by his children, continued to pursue global branding and real estate ventures. Trump's persona as a businessman-turned-statesman remains central to his identity. Books, documentaries, and university courses began dissecting his rise, presidency, and post-presidency influence in real time, underscoring his lasting impact on the 21st century American political landscape. Even those who opposed him acknowledged his unparalleled ability to shape discourse and redefine the expectations of modern leadership. Whether viewed as a disruptor, a visionary, or a deeply divisive figure, Donald Trump's presence remained larger than any single election or political moment. In 2025, he was not only a past president but also a contender for the future, continuing to challenge traditional power structures, energize millions of Americans, and reshape the very fabric of U.S. politics. As 2025 progressed, Donald Trump's influence showed no signs of fading. Whether inside courtrooms, political rallies, or media interviews, he remained a central force in the American conversation. His third presidential campaign, historic in nature, became not only a test of his political survival but also a defining moment for American democracy. Amid high-stakes legal battles and deep political divisions, Trump traveled the country relentlessly, pledging to finish what we started and vowing to return strength, order, and pride to what he often referred to as a broken nation. Meanwhile, the Republican Party, still deeply shaped by his ideology, faced internal pressure to either embrace or evolve beyond Trumpism. Many candidates in local and national races positioned themselves either as loyal allies or cautious critics, depending on their voter base. Trump's endorsements continued to hold considerable weight, and his influence reached state legislatures, school board debates, and national policy agendas. On the international stage, Trump's legacy as a disruptive leader who reshaped America's relationships with its allies and adversaries remained controversial. As global leaders reacted to the possibility of his return, diplomatic circles quietly braced for what another Trump presidency might mean for NATO, trade alliances, and world stability. His America First stance had already redefined international expectations of U.S. leadership. Despite the controversies and the polarizing opinions surrounding him, Trump's ability to command attention was unparalleled. He leveraged every platform, social media, interviews, televised town halls, to control the narrative. Supporters saw him as a truth-teller and warrior against elite institutions, while opponents viewed him as a threat to democratic norms. This sharp contrast only heightened the stakes of every appearance, every speech, every decision. In Mar-a-Lago, surrounded by loyal advisors, Trump continued plotting his political strategy while also attending to his business empire and family legacy. His children, Donald Jr., Ivanka, Eric, and others, played increasingly public roles in supporting the Trump brand both in politics and commerce. His supporters wore red hats, waved flags, and lined up by the thousands at rallies. The media never looked away. The story of Donald Trump had long stopped being just about one man. It had become a movement, a symbol, and a mirror reflecting the deep fractures and passions of a nation still debating its direction. As the months unfolded in 2025, Donald Trump continued to reshape American political life with unwavering energy. His campaign became more than a race for office, it was a symbol of resistance for millions who believed he alone could stand up to the political establishment. Every rally turned into a spectacle, with chants, slogans, and fiery speeches that echoed the same populist message that had propelled him to victory nearly a decade earlier. His promise of restoring American greatness was no longer just a slogan, it was, for his followers, a mission. Meanwhile, courtrooms across America were filled with arguments not just about Trump's actions, but about the limits of presidential power, freedom of speech, and the meaning of justice in a deeply divided nation. Trump, never one to retreat quietly, used these moments to energize his base, calling the legal cases election interference and casting himself as a warrior against corruption and censorship. The more the headlines multiplied, the more his supporters rallied. Inside the Republican Party, few could match his ability to mobilize voters. Even those who once distanced themselves from his brand now cautiously aligned with him again, recognizing that the path to political survival often passed through Trump's endorsement. His influence extended beyond politics, his social media statements could sway markets, spark protests, or dominate the news cycle within minutes. Trump's global image remained controversial yet powerful. Foreign governments watched closely, many adjusting their diplomatic strategies in anticipation of what a second Trump presidency might mean. Some praised his tough stances, others warned of renewed global instability. Yet none could ignore him. At his estates in Florida and New Jersey, Trump balanced campaign strategy with moments of family life and business management. He remained surrounded by loyal confidants and family members who had grown into public figures themselves, helping to manage the Trump empire and legacy. While critics intensified their efforts to disqualify him or defeat him, Trump remained focused, undaunted, combative, and certain that his mission was far from over. In political debates, media headlines, classroom discussions, and family dinners across the country, the question lingered: what will Donald Trump do next? Love him or oppose him, America was still very much in the era of Trump, a figure whose name defined a movement and whose story was still being written. Throughout Donald Trump's political career, his approach to international relations was unconventional and deeply personal. As president and afterward, he emphasized strongman diplomacy, prioritizing personal rapport with world leaders over traditional diplomatic channels. While some longtime U.S. allies grew uneasy with his unpredictable style, others formed unexpectedly close relationships with him, based on mutual admiration and shared nationalist ideals. One of Trump's most notable foreign friendships was with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Under Trump, U.S.-Israel relations reached a historic peak. He officially recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in 2017, moved the U.S. Embassy there, and helped broker the Abraham Accords, a series of normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab nations. Netanyahu publicly praised Trump as one of Israel's greatest allies, and Trump repeatedly expressed pride in his administration's pro-Israel achievements. Trump also developed a surprisingly cordial relationship with Kim Jong-un, the supreme leader of North Korea. Although the two exchanged hostile rhetoric early in Trump's presidency, including threats of military force, they later met face-to-face in unprecedented summits, first in Singapore, 2018, then in Hanoi, 2019, and briefly in the DMZ, 2019. While no major denuclearization agreement was reached, Trump claimed the relationship prevented war and reduced tensions on the Korean peninsula. Trump frequently praised Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, describing him as strong and smart, and often resisted criticizing him openly. This drew sharp criticism domestically and from U.S. allies, but Trump insisted that improving U.S.-Russia ties was in America's interest. Although official relations with Russia remained tense due to issues like election interference in Ukraine, Trump's personal tone toward Putin was consistently respectful. With Saudi Arabia, Trump maintained close ties, particularly with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He approved major arms deals, defended the kingdom even after the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, and saw Saudi Arabia as a key strategic and economic partner in the Middle East. Trump's first foreign visit as president was to Riyadh, symbolizing the importance he placed on the relationship. Other countries where Trump enjoyed relatively good relations during his presidency included India, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with whom he shared populist leanings and mutual admiration. He also had strong personal chemistry with leaders like Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil and Andrzej Duda of Poland, both of whom echoed elements of Trump's nationalist and conservative ideology. Even after his presidency, these relationships continued to shape global politics, as Trump remained in contact with certain leaders and occasionally commented on international affairs. His foreign policy legacy was marked not by multilateral agreements, but by bold, often unpredictable personal diplomacy, prioritizing strength, loyalty, and direct negotiation over tradition. As 2025 moved forward, Donald Trump's grip on global attention remained as firm as ever. While domestic politics continued to revolve around his legal cases, campaign events, and dramatic statements, his international relationships remained a symbol of how he had reshaped U.S. foreign policy around personality-driven diplomacy. Unlike previous presidents, Trump didn't rely heavily on formal alliances or bureaucratic protocol. Instead, he built friendships based on mutual respect, ideological similarity, and personal chemistry. In Israel, Trump was still celebrated as a historic ally. Streets in Jerusalem bore his name, and his close ties with former Prime Minister Netanyahu kept his name positively alive in Israeli political circles. In India, his bond with Prime Minister Modi, established during events like the Howdy Modi rally in Texas and Namaste Trump in Ahmedabad, continued to be remembered fondly by Indian conservatives. Many in India admired his tough stance on China and his pro-business attitude, both of which aligned well with Modi's own national agenda. Even after leaving office, Trump remained in occasional contact with several international leaders. In Hungary, Viktor Orbán openly supported Trump's leadership style and vision for conservative governance. In Brazil, Trump's former ally Jair Bolsonaro publicly praised him, and the two shared a narrative of being targeted by leftist elites and deep state forces. In Poland, where traditional values and national identity were prioritized in policy, Trump's America First message still resonated. At the same time, Trump was a controversial figure in Western Europe. Leaders in Germany, France, and Canada had tense relationships with him during his presidency, largely due to disagreements over NATO spending, climate policy, and trade. Yet even in these nations, political movements inspired by Trump's style gained momentum, proof that his influence crossed borders and parties. While Trump did not always win favor with global elites or institutions, he created an entirely new category of diplomacy: bold, personalized, and media-driven. Whether meeting with adversaries like Kim Jong-un, maintaining cordiality with Putin, or securing major deals with Saudi Arabia, Trump's approach was deeply rooted in transactional loyalty and strongman respect. And so, in campaign war rooms, courtrooms, international summits, and public rallies, Donald Trump's name continued to dominate headlines. His path remained uncertain, but his presence was undeniable. The world watched closely, some with hope, some with worry, as the story of one of the most polarizing and influential political figures in modern history continued to unfold. As 2025 deepened, Donald Trump's story pressed forward with the same intensity that had marked his decades in the spotlight. At 79 years old, he remained a central character not only in American politics but in the broader global narrative. His every word, whether from a campaign stage, a courthouse step, or a Truth Social post, could move markets, dominate news cycles, or ignite massive public reactions. Backed by a fiercely loyal support base, Trump's rallies stretched across battleground states, drawing tens of thousands of attendees. He spoke about inflation, immigration, national pride, and corruption with the same confrontational style that first defined his political rise. His message remained unchanged: he was fighting not just for an election, but to save America from what he saw as a rigged and broken system. To his followers, he was not just a candidate, he was a symbol of resistance, revival, and revenge against the political elite. Internationally, his influence remained polarizing yet potent. In Saudi Arabia, India, Israel, Hungary, and even North Korea, Trump's legacy of direct and often unfiltered diplomacy lingered. In regions where power politics and nationalist sentiment were strong, Trump's model of leadership was studied, admired, and, in some places, replicated. His relationships with leaders like Mohammed bin Salman, Narendra Modi, Benjamin Netanyahu, Viktor Orbán, and Kim Jong-un continued to shape foreign policy commentary, even though Trump no longer held official office. Meanwhile, legal proceedings against him advanced in parallel with his campaign. Facing multiple indictments in federal and state courts, Trump maintained his innocence, calling the charges politically motivated. His legal team, backed by millions in fundraising, fought case after case, while Trump used the courtroom drama to energize his base, positioning himself as a political martyr, persecuted for challenging the system. Inside the Republican Party, his dominance remained nearly total. Most challengers had either dropped out or embraced his vision, unwilling to risk alienating the party's base. His endorsements could make or break candidates. His influence shaped not just election outcomes but the very tone and ideology of conservative politics in America. Beyond politics, Trump's business empire continued operations, largely managed by his adult children. The Trump brand luxury properties, golf resorts, media ventures remained profitable and high-profile. Books, documentaries, and research continued to examine his life, seeking to understand how a real estate tycoon became one of the most transformative and divisive figures in American history. And still, Trump pushed forward. Whether delivering defiant speeches, making appearances at conservative conferences, or responding to opponents online, his presence refused to fade. For his supporters, the dream of a second Trump presidency in 2025 or even beyond remained very much alive. What comes next is uncertain. But what is certain, Donald J. Trump's story is far from over. Donald John Trump's journey from the outer boroughs of New York to the pinnacle of global power remains one of the most extraordinary and controversial in modern history. A businessman, television personality, and 45th President of the United States, Trump defied conventions, rewrote political strategies, and reshaped global conversations. Loved by millions and criticized by millions more, he became a symbol of disruption, challenging systems, breaking norms, and commanding attention like few others ever could. His legacy, marked by towering achievements and deep divisions, will be debated by scholars, journalists, and citizens for generations. From building skyscrapers to building political movements, from reality TV fame to the White House, from courtrooms to campaign rallies, Donald Trump never followed the expected path, he created his own. Whether remembered as a bold visionary or a deeply divisive force, Trump's impact on America and the world is undeniable. He changed politics, media, diplomacy, and the meaning of leadership. In the story of 21st century history, his chapter will never be skipped. The story ends. But the legacy continues. From real estate to reality TV, from boardrooms to the White House, from controversy to global influence, Donald Trump's life story is one of ambition, disruption, power, and enduring impact. Whether you admire him or oppose him, there is no denying that he changed the course of history. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful life stories, political journeys, and inspirational biographies. Stay tuned, more incredible stories are coming soon.